Owning vintage guitars is an amazing rite of passage in becoming a guitar player, but it is also not for the faint of heart. I want to tell you what it's like to actually live with vintage tube amps so that you know what to expect, and when you do buy a badass amp, you're not freaked out by the things that are going to be weird about it. There are a few moments in your life as a guitar player that are just rites of passage. One of the coolest ones is the first time you get to buy a badass vintage tube amp. I want to talk about this early 60s magnatone. This is a badass, seriously cool, full-fat American tube amp, 6L6 powered, tube reverb, tube rectified, very cool amp. I actually want to give you advice on what it's like to actually own and live with an old tube amp. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Jeremy. I'm the Guitar Hunter. I teach people how to buy and sell cool old guitars and gear. If that sounds like something you're into, make sure to hit the bell down below so you're subscribed and you don't miss videos. I try to make videos that help you find cool guitars and gear in real life, that light your soul on fire and help you create new music and make new friends. A couple weeks ago, I sold this Fender Showman. It was a 66 Showman head. It was really clean. It was just serviced. It sounded really good. It looked great. New tubes, new caps. It was basically as tidy and as good as you could get from the 60s, still being in the player's grade. Sold for $750 or so, and to me, it seemed like a great deal. Within a couple days of the guy getting it, the customer sent me a couple questions on Reverb that showed me pretty quickly he had probably never owned a vintage amp. So what I wanted to do is make a video that just gives you a couple things that should be on your radar of what it's like to own a tube amp, and hopefully that'll help you alleviate any stress and also will not let you be hurt or frustrated or annoyed when you get a tube amp in real life. So this is a 1961 Magnatone 460. This is an amp made in Southern California. It has two 12-inch Oxford speakers. It is powered by 6L6s in the power section. It has 12 AX7s in the preamp. The reverb is powered by a 6DR7 tube, and the rectifier is a 5U4GB rectifier tube. This amp is every bit of the coolest tube amps that America could make in the 1960s. It's a two-channel amp. There's a normal channel and there's a vibrato channel. There's a stereo output. This amp is just cool. So here are a couple things you just need to know if you're going to be buying and owning cool old vintage guitar amps. First, they're just finicky. Listen, they are the epitome of that phrase, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. These, they look awesome. They look super mid-century. They're very cool. They could be a decorating piece, but if you leave them sitting around long enough, the caps are going to leak, the tubes could go bad, the speaker cones could go bad. There are many things that, unless they're used frequently, could go bad. So they're finicky and they're going to require some maintenance. Every couple of years, these amps are going to cost you some money. All of those things, you just need to have them on your radar before you get into it, but it's a very cool amp. And you should know, tube amps now versus tube amps 50 years ago are very different. Lots of the wrinkles have been worked out. That leads me to the second point. This amp is a bit noisy. It's got issues. It's got bumps and burps that happens. It's got thunder if you rattle the spring reverb tank. One of the things that this amp does that I'm pretty sure it needs to be fixed before it can be sold is that when the volume is up really high and I really dig in, you feel it compress and you feel the volume cut out and then it'll fade back in. it goes away with the reverb on, but for the most part, if the reverb is up, it's gonna short out. So I don't know what causes that. One of the concerns that came up when I was talking to the guy who'd bought the Showman was that he said that there was an audible pop, and there's something must be wrong with the amp when he turns on either the reverb or the tremolo. And that, unfortunately, it just shows that he had not been around old Fender amps that much, or just old tube amps in general. There's gonna be a pop when you turn on the vibrato. There's gonna be some noise when you turn on the reverb. This amp is exceptionally noisy when the reverb comes on, and that's just something you have to live with. So there are many wrinkles that are in these that are not in the newer amps. And that's cool. If you want a super tidy, clean amp that never makes any noises that you don't want and only sounds great all the time, maybe a modeler is the best option for you. Maybe good pedals on the floor is an option for you. But if you want mojo and vibe and cool original old amps, and if you appreciate just the electronics and just the technology of where they were, these things are definitely for you. So point number 3, they can be incredible. Old tube amps, you have to learn to live with the weird quirks and idiosyncrasies that they have. They're gonna be noisy, they're gonna be finicky, they're gonna cost you some money, they're gonna be unpredictable. They probably shouldn't be your only amp. But there's something magical that happens when you get the right guitar into the right amp and the right tone, and all of a sudden you disappear, and your guitar disappears, and your amp disappears, and you're just living in the place in which you're creative, and you're finding new tones, and you're just playing freeform without having to think about what you're doing. Tube amps are much more affordable now than they ever have been. In the 15 years that I've been doing this amp, you could probably find, if you're really lucky, you could find one in the $500-600 range. Most of them are going to be $800-900 for these. This is not an amp for the faint of heart. This is not an amp for your first tube amp coming in. But I have a whole wall of amps over here. All of these tube amps are cool and quirky, and they will all be cooler than a Blues Junior. With that said, Blues Juniors are awesome. There's a place for them. They're clean, they're tidy, they don't require that much maintenance. They're way better in a lot of ways, but they don't have that like vintage vibe and cool old tones. So there's something really incredible that happens. So listen, I hope that this helps you figure out if you're someone who should buy an old tube amp, or if you should just stick to kind of newer amps that pull old tones. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeremy, I'm the Guitar Hunter. Listen, I don't take it lightly that you watch these videos. I'm so glad that we're in this together. If you need help buying cool guitars and gear, let me know. If you have questions about what you should buy, what you should look for, let me know. The first and most helpful way to support this channel is to become a patron on Patreon. So go over there, it's patreon.com/guitarhunter. You can find me over there. You get access to videos before they come up. You get live Q&As with me. There are some good perks there. The other way to support this channel and make sure these videos keep happening is that you can buy t-shirts. They're $25, they're shipped in the US, they're super soft and comfortable. I've already shipped a bunch of them. I'll probably sell out of this first batch and then I'll get more coming. If you want to be a guitar hunter who fills the world with music and friendship, the shirts are one of the best ways to do that. All right, guys and gals, go fill the world with music and friendship.